In November of 2026, I will preach about coming late to Mass. However, before then, let it be heard, as I have said the past 2 years, if you come late to Mass, do not come in here with your tail between your legs, because we are happy that you are here. Father Micah and I can just blame it on Colorado Boulevard or I-25 or something else. Once out of every 3 years, I preach on coming late to Mass, and there's a difference between coming consistently late to Mass and a fluke thing, like a diaper blowout on the way out the door. We get that life happens, and you never have to worry about what we think. We are glad that you are here. So when I do preach about this in November of 2026, and somebody says how judgmental and unwelcoming I am, I do have recorded evidence of the number of times I have preambled that homily, and may you just receive it in your own hearts. Secondly, we are very glad for all of the children that are here. You parents who have the courage to bring your kiddos to Mass, especially on a weekly basis. It's a great gift for us to be able to train ourselves to hear the cries of children as the singing of angels, and to be attuned to the future of the church, especially when we are inconvenienced by it. Because the law of love asks us to go beyond being inconvenienced. So moms and dads, for your own witness here, we're grateful. We're now repeating the same cycle, the C cycle. So remember A, B, and C cycle, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And we are now into the same cycle where we were when Father Micah just got to this parish. And so I'm having all these flashbacks from early conversations that we would have together. And 3 years ago, I gave a homily about Paw Rump, a place in Nevada with legal, we can call it ladies of the night. You can find that on YouTube. And I was drawing from that this man's descent from Jerusalem to Jericho. And there was a band of individuals who approached me to just inform me, probably 3 days later, how judgmental I was, because I didn't know the heart of this man who was moving from Jerusalem to Jericho. And in that very meeting, we got back out the scriptures and we looked it up, and we realized that this was a fictitious man. My friends, the Good Samaritan doesn't exist. It's a story. My friends, the prodigal son doesn't exist. It's a story. It's a story that Jesus used to draw out truths that then apply to many instantiations of people from time and eternity. So when Jesus calculates, first a priest goes, then a deacon, a Levite, goes, and then a Samaritan, he's doing what's called reductio ad absurdum. He's boiling things down to their most concentrated form to draw out a point. Why? Because the guy who did exist is at the beginning of the story, the one who wished to justify himself, the one who is being contentious with Jesus. And so Jesus takes him at his word and draws out the story. And so Jerusalem, this great religious center at the heart of every Jewish people. Think of Rome and New York and Washington, D.C. all shoved together, and that's Jerusalem. And then think of Jericho, which not only was the geographically lowest part of geographic Israel, but also was known to be a place where you would have your bachelorette party. All this to say, when Jesus picks these things, he's drawing out imagery in the minds and hearts of the people. He's speaking to them within their context. This just begs the question about the moral life. Now, it's erroneous for a preacher to just say that the implications of the gospel are do this and don't do that. That a God of love has his list of 10 things, and depending on how you do on that pop quiz is how you do eternally. No. God is a God of love. The problem with love is we can bend it. We can craft love in our own image and likeness, even to the point where certain truisms are no longer true, like love is love. My friends, the law of love is harder than any of us give it credit. The ones who like to grab love and use it as a placeholder for their own designs tend to be those who are financially not constrained. Those who can swipe a piece of plastic this big and make most of their problems go away, except for the existential ones. But that's not reality. And only a sliver of the entirety of humanity has ever been able to live that way. And most people, including the ultra-rich, tend to think they're not the rich. But if you live in this country, in this time period, if you live in or close to this zip code, you are doing pretty well. So what it means is sometimes you and I can bend the notion of love to what we want it to mean. And then when there are very specific hard and fast rules, like the 10 Commandments, like wherein Moses gives the law to the people, and in giving the law to the people, he says, drill it into your children, for this commandment I enjoin on you today is not too mysterious or too remote for you. Love is so hard to define. Love is whatever you want it to be. It is not up in the sky that you should say, who will go up to the sky and get it for us and tell us of it that we may carry it out. Nor is it across the sea. No, it's something very near to you. When we ask our kids who are preparing to receive the sacrament of reconciliation, we ask them to memorize the 10 Commandments. Something that's not even 2 kilobits of data. The pushback that we get from some parents, which is correlated to the parents who don't go to Sunday Mass. But my friends, we do have a law from God. There are very basic things that you and I are to carry out. On a list of 1 to 10, in which number 5 is do not kill, showing the importance of the list, number 3 is take a chill pill. Don't use a 24-hour period to get ahead. Don't mow your lawn because your HOA is after you. Don't just get a head start on your taxes or start that brief for the following week. and then go see your doctor to be medicated about anxiety. That this imposition of the law exists to draw us out to live in a very different way. Now let me take a side turn. Our faith is not about the law. Our faith is all about love. And if there is a quote that I have quoted more than any other, it is John of the Cross. In the eve of life, at the end of all things, you and I shall be judged. We shall be regarded by our Maker and Redeemer based on how we chose to love. Love is the fulfillment of the law. But love does not mean you and I get to do what we want when we want. You who are married know that as you approach the altar and you promise to love each other in good times and bad, in sickness and health, to love and honor. Later, the nuptial blessing will use cherish with the love that Christ has for his church. My friends, the problem with love is it will ask more of you than you want. I've done 4 weddings in the past 9 days. Someone who had been kind of pre-liquored up approached me and told me this joke that apparently was said by a cardinal. I need to research it, but it was brilliant, and I told him that I would use it in a homily. He was very self-satisfied. We were talking about kind of the difficulty of parish life and being a pastor, and how we don't get to pick our roommate, we don't get to pick our assignment, we just go where the Lord and the bishop sends us. He says, you know the difference between you and us married people? No, what is that? We married people, we get to pick our executioner. Funny and slightly shocking though it may be, gets at an utter truth. That if you are living your vocation, generosity to your children, placing the heart of your beloved before you, it will lead to your death. There are even studies that come out every so often about how women would be so much better off, 1, without men, 2, without children, so just go do your thing. And how it correlates to blood pressure and longevity. Sure, I'm willing to concede that living out a vocation seriously will reduce your biological life. And yet, this life was not meant for longevity. This life was meant for self-gift, so as to propel us into eternal life. Why? Because ultimately, the following of the law in its most basic form allows us to take flight, which is why you have Deuteronomy paired with the story of the Good Samaritan, whereby the first 2, the priest and the Levite, were following the law. Why? Because they're not allowed to touch bloody people lest they become ritually impure. They would be breaking a version of the law. And then Jesus kind of slaps them, saying, but the law can only go so far, because there are times where the Lord will move you with pity, with compassion, where he will prick your conscience to say, you need to change. You, Father Daniel, need to change your priesthood. You, baptized Christian who goes to church but doesn't always pray from the heart. The real implication of love is that you and I need to change, better, to be transformed by the one who allows it to happen, Jesus. You want to talk about the phrase, love has real demands? Look at this God of love, who said, Lord, let this cup pass from me, but not my will, but yours be done. And so you married people with your self-selected executioners, ask God to use his love to amplify your hearts, that you may go beyond the basic tenets of the law. Go to Mass once a week. Pray every day. Don't swear. Go to confession literally once a year. And then to move beyond that, to be carried by the winds of God's grace and the wings of your own love, that you may soar to the heights of heaven and bring as many people with you in this journey of transformation. Praise be Jesus Christ.